Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread with Rivaj Maharaj, where nothing is off the table. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about the breaking news coming in from the EU regarding their refusal to send ships into the Gulf region as per Donald Trump's request to assist with patrolling the Hormuz Strait. So without further ado, let's get into it. There's some breaking news coming in, and I've got an article here from Politico that I'm going to go through regarding the EU's refusal to send its naval vessels into the Strait of Hormuz to help patrol the area. This coming as a direct response to a plea by Donald Trump that NATO and the EU should send naval vessels to the Hormuz Strait to help patrol the area and secure the region, the strait, so that trade can move freely through, especially energy by way of oil and gas. And Donald Trump's reasoning for this is that a lot of the oil and gas that passes through the Hormuz Strait goes on to China and the and to Europe. So he figures that the Europeans as well as the Chinese should play an active role in help patrolling the strait, and hence keeping it open to allow these tankers to go through unhinged or unharmed. Now, we know that Donald Trump has also said that he's asked his reliable sources to deal directly with the Chinese to see if they can elicit a response from the Chinese regarding sending ships to patrol the strait, because his reasoning for this is, as I mentioned earlier, that a lot of Iranian oil flows on through this strait into China. But not only that, he's got a meeting scheduled with Xi Jinping at the end of March, and he wants to be certain as to where Xi Jinping stands before he can go in to attend that meeting. Nevertheless, let's look at this article from Politico. The heading is "Don't Blackmail Us. Europe Rejects Trump's Demands to help clean up Hormuz Mess." This is not Europe's war, the EU tells Washington in a bruising rebuke on Iran, even as oil prices hike. Brussels. Europe's message to Donald Trump on Monday was clear: "We're not helping you secure the Strait of Hormuz." Foreign ministers from 27 EU countries gathered in Brussels to discuss the American president's call for European countries to help secure the narrow waterway, a vital oil shipping lane channel that Iran has largely blocked in retaliation for US and Israeli airstrikes. Among the ideas floated was expanding the mandate of the EU's naval mission Aspides to allow European warships to be sent to patrol the strait between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. But after hours of closed-door talks about the war in Iran, Europe's foreign envoys made clear that they see this as America's problem to solve. Europe has no interest in an open-ended war, EU top diplomat Kaja Kallas said Monday evening after the meeting. This is not Europe's war, but Europe's interests are directly at stake. Although there was a clear wish among ministers to strengthen the EU's naval mission in the Middle East, there was no appetite in changing the mandate, Kallas said, referring to sending warships to the strait. Extending this mandate to cover the Strait of Hormuz, there was no appetite from the member states to do that, she repeated. Nobody wants to go actively in this war. Respect, please. Trump told the Financial Times at the weekend it would be very bad for the future of NATO if European countries failed to respond to his call for help. He wrote on social media that he was in contact with 7 countries about securing the strait, without naming which countries he was referring to. So, there's a few takeaways from this. We know that Donald Trump is holding the key cards regarding Ukraine, and we know he's come down vociferously on the Europeans to get a deal done with Ukraine and to stop being involved in perpetuating this war with Russia. He wants to see this war come to an end, and he's gone so far as to get Russian oil desanctioned so that it can try to stabilize the market. Now, I suspect he realizes that this is probably not going to be enough and that the straits do need to be open. So he's approached the Europeans, the Chinese, and basically anybody who would listen. However, the Europeans are playing a strategic game here. They've come together as a unit and said that they're not going to accept that. And I suspect that there will be some backdoor negotiations going on as to what can be done regarding the Ukraine issue and Trump's stance there. Now, Donald Trump, again, is a businessman. He'll do what he needs to in order to survive right now. But he's also quite the narcissist, and he has a vindictive streak within him. So we know that this decline by Europe is not going to be left as is. And Trump is going to wait for the first opportunity he gets to hammer the Europeans on something. The thing to remember here is that yesterday or last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, Donald Trump was probably holding the Trump card. Sorry for the pun. But things have changed. War, this is the nature of war. It is not static. You have plans, you have contingencies. Things don't always go according to plan. Whether the Trump administration took into account what is going to happen or what has happened is not at question here. The point I'm trying to make here is that the Americans have asked the Europeans for help. Now, from a pure geopolitical move, the Europeans are looking at this as an opportunity to extract whatever they can from Donald Trump, and I assume it's going to be regarding Ukraine. The problem you're going to have is that the first chance Donald Trump gets where he is in a strong position, he is going to make the Europeans hurt. That is a given, because that is his nature. That is the way he does business. So we know that Kaja Kallas is someone who is absolutely a diehard Ukrainian Volodymyr Zelensky supporter. I suspect she's the type of person who would empty out her bank account and give it to Zelensky. And I'm certain she's one of the driving forces behind this decision not to send assistance. Now, I've got no skin in this game. It doesn't matter to me whether they go or they don't go. It's immaterial. I'm just looking at it and trying to understand the ramifications and why and who and what. And I'm certain with everything that's been going on the political stage recently, it's because of the way in which Trump has spoken to European leaders, spoken about European leaders and Europe. The way he's treated them at Davos, everything he's done regarding Greenland, this is payback for all of that. But the thing with payback is it doesn't end there. When you look at the way in which Trump carries out his diplomacy, it's very mafia-like. So while he may do a deal now because it hinges on his survival, it's going to be one of those still waters run very deep moments, because as soon as he's in a predicament, or as soon as he's in a position of strength, Europe is going to feel some of his wrath. I'm fairly certain of that. If the Europeans, Kaja Kallas, I've got a video where she talks about Trump and the United States trying to break Europe up. If she thought that was the case before, she is certainly going to be in for a shocker in the future. So it's I've just been going through some of these headlines before I headed off to bed. I thought let's just do a quick video on this, and I want to thank you for spending time with us. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please remember to like, share and subscribe, as it helps our channel to grow and it helps us with the algorithm.